Working with cold clients, there's often multiple complex trauma that they carry. Most of the cold clients that we work with often come from war-torn countries, and then they come to Australia thinking that they're going to be safe, they're going to have a life that they wanted back home. But then, you know, they're facing violence and they're facing abuse every day. So I guess for them, it's like, well, I was in my country, there was war, but I had my family, I had my cultural connections, I had my religious connections. But here in Australia, there's, you know, this added extra element of trauma, but I've got no one to support me. I've got nowhere to go to seek help. And working with these kind of clients, it's hard because you don't know what issue to address first. You know, do you address the trauma of the past, of the war? Do you address the trauma of the violence? You know, do you address the trauma of being homeless and not having any support and not having any cultural connections? It becomes, you know, a competing priority for the caseworkers. What do you focus on first?
Strength-based approach when working with cold clients is actually understanding that it's important to follow the client's lead, support and understand that they are the experts of their life. So it's actually a learning opportunity. I actually think for both clients and also the staff member, it's a very great learning opportunity. Our culture, it can be about services as well, so it needs a lot of patience, understanding, a lot of listening as well. Yeah, so I just think it's just a learning curve, but the most important thing is to let our clients lead in the process.
A survivor-based approach working with cold clients means understanding the story behind the person. You know, they have a story unique to them before they came to us. They've been through, you know, war, famine, loss of family, loss of culture. So having that on top of, you know, going through something as hard as coming to a new country, not knowing anything, and then being, you know, a victim of domestic violence, knowing how resilient that person is and was and continues to be, because they've got so much background trauma, but yet they've survived. They've survived maybe, you know, a few years of domestic violence with this perpetrator because I've had no other option. But now it's like, I'm ready to make that step. I'm ready to, you know, be the person that I wanted to be when I first came to this country. So acknowledging the past and acknowledging how resilient they are. We could be doing something so simple, but that's causing it's such a trigger for that cold client. You know, the way that you speak, your tone of voice, your body, being aware of all of that and how it can maybe trigger the person you're working with based on the trauma that they've had, based on the experiences that they've had in their own country or their culture. You know, what does it mean if you look them straight in the eye when you're addressing them with something? So being aware of that and knowing that, you know, if there's a certain way that you can minimize that.
Many times a client might come up with friends from their own background or relatives. And relatives or people who have the same background, friends, will not actually pass the message that it requires as an interpreter will do it. They probably will summarize or they will just pass a message according to what they're thinking, but not the proper message as an interpreter will do it word by word.
My tip to anyone who is at some point engaged or work with a client from a cold background, it's very important to listen. It's very important to use clear communication and follow due processes. It's very important. If it's interpreting services, it's important that we do that, we use those services. And I know it can be easy to be judgmental and say, oh, she can understand what I'm saying, but some people, like we're talking about authority, they don't want to stress you, they don't want to worry you, and then you end up not unpacking all these issues. So it's very important when there's clear communication, reviewing, it just makes things quite easy. Yeah, and just enjoy the process, because it's a learning curve for everyone. So it's an opportunity to learn, actually, because every day we have to learn something different.
To have empathy for the person and to understand that that person got to that position for some reason, whatever reason it is, and to find out exactly what was that reason. Not everyone is the same. Every person is a story, and therefore we cannot put everyone in the same box.
Don't assume, never assume, and never assume that they're victims, because they're not. They're resilient and they're survivors, and they've gotten to this stage in their life without you, you know? So be aware that they have done it and they can continue to do it. You just need to give them empowerment to be able to do so.